Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker-Carl, broadcasting to you from snowy Indianapolis, Indiana. And today I'm here with my good friends, Karen and Jason, Lori and Catherine and Angel. All right, and today we're going to be continuing our discussion of the book Love, Life, God by Jarrad Hewett. And last week we talked a little bit, we were finishing up on chapter 4 and kind of had gotten to the point in our conversation where we were discussing this whole idea of letting go of everything. And we didn't really get to the very end of the chapter because it started talking about new thought and why that is important. So I think we may start our conversation there and segue into chapter 5, because if we don't know this last part of chapter 4, we may not understand why we're even talking about what's in chapter 5. So, but before we get going with that, I want to give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves. And for those of you who are watching out there, if you're watching our live stream on Facebook, jump down below the video there, leave us a comment, let us know that you see us, and add your thoughts to the conversation as we go along. And if you're watching as a recording on YouTube and you'd like to participate with us or watch our live stream, you just need to find us on Facebook, and you can find our group by going to mindsetmasterycollective.com. That will help direct you into our Facebook group. So with that, guys, go ahead, jump out, introduce yourselves, and then we'll get this conversation going.
Hello, it's Catherine in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
We're so good at that, Catherine. Lori Emmons in Denver, we always step on each other.
Hey, Jason from Tampa Bay, Florida.
I'm Karen Lohoff. I noticed on one of the YouTube transcriptions, they had me as Karen Mohawk. It's Karen Lohoff in Mesa, Arizona.
I'm Angel Studebaker here in snowy Indiana as well too.
Awesome. It's good to have everybody on. And yeah, that's funny how YouTube transcripts work. They just kind of automatically say what, type out what it thinks we're saying. And if we don't speak clearly, then it's all mumble jumbled. And so I imagine there's a fair amount of some of the stuff that I say that's mumble jumbled because I just don't always speak clearly. So
I think Facebook does the same thing too.
Yeah.
On some of the videos that have the captions down at the bottom, you can clearly tell that Facebook's trying, but they didn't try very hard.
Right. Yeah, so let me know. Angel's here with me, and we're keeping her computer muted and just using my microphone so we don't have any weird echo. So let me know at any point if you can't hear her when she's speaking. Please speak up and say something. So today, let's kind of just talk about the end of chapter 4 just a little bit, because I think that'll help us in chapter 5. I wanted to just read a little bit in here. So it's talking about letting go of our story. And it says, letting go of our story is not just letting go of who you think you are, not just letting go of your identity. It is literally letting go of expectation, of attachment, of every definition. And when you can do that, you can truly move into expansion, and that will bring in another new thought, which will create another new desire, which will create another new experience, and so forth. This is how expansion occurs. And we kind of talked a little bit at the end last week. We were discussing about this possibility of what if it's a lot easier than what we think it is, and that we're all working so hard to try and make things happen, when in reality maybe we don't even need to do that. Maybe we just, all these ideas of what we think it's supposed to be or how we think we're supposed to act actually creates kind of a blockage to creating what we actually want, because we get these ideas in our heads of how things are supposed to be, and then we have this narrow vision, and that keeps us from having the opportunity to like it's saying, these new thoughts is what helps move us into this the next stage of evolution or next stage of creation or that kind of thing. And for kind of an example, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was that we were all kind of discussing along that line. So you guys remember how we kind of ended the conversation on that?
It's one of the most difficult things for me. When we think about God spoke everything into being, when you have something, a physical condition, I've been dealing with for 28 years, and I can't really speak it out of existence. I still have to live within the confines of what my body will allow me to do, and I can't get past that part of letting go of my story, because the physical effects have such a controlling factor in my life. You can't just wish it away. I mean, I've been trying for a long time. So this really causes a lot of confusion in my head. I understand the expansion and, stop writing the same story. But I can't figure out how to get around it.
I don't know how helpful this is for anyone else, but I was trying an exercise that I have. I wish I could remember where I picked this up, who I learned this from, but there was a time, probably in the last 20 years, the last 20 years that have gone so very, very quickly, when I was really trying to focus on I am. I think we've all tried to do that with our various self-help books and discussions with each other and so forth. And whoever it was that I learned this from said, walk down the street, and as you pass things, take a moment to say, I am, or I am that. And outside this building, I happen to have a bay window. Sometimes I think you can probably tell that. I'm at the front of the building, and as you walk out, there's fence posts. And honestly, I don't think I've seen fence posts for a lot of years. I remember helping my father dig holes for fence posts, and how he would tamp them down into the ground and then put barbed wire from one to the other. And we actually have, it's not barbed wire, it's just wire, but there's 3 rows of wire from one fence post to the other. And the fence post, there's one right next to the stucco post that holds up the entrance here. And then it goes out to the driveway, down the driveway, and I guess it ends at the end of the driveway. And I've long thought, what is the point of that? It doesn't keep the rabbits from moving. It doesn't keep the birds from moving. It must be for us old folks, so we don't fall into the ground off the sidewalk. And really, that's not going to help that much, because these fence posts aren't very securely put into the ground. I've seen them. I've seen a couple of them tilted over, and as heavy as I am, if I fall into the wire, I can imagine, bringing the wire down or bringing the fence post down or something. It's interesting. I've been looking out here, and so I'm telling you this lengthy story when I really only mean to tell you one thing. So I'm walking along, I say, I am that, I am a fence post. And I think about if I'm a fence post, I am still, I'm not very attractive. I'm holding something up. And then, unless I want to stand there, which actually I can't even stand still that long, I really need to keep walking. Then I can look at something else. I can say, I am this driveway. I am this concrete. I have this crack. So anyway, this morning I was looking up at the top of my wall, and it's probably a 10-foot ceiling. And it's a bullnose curve. In other words, it's not a right angle. And as I looked at that, I felt emotion. I felt tears come. I felt my nose kind of, I don't know, it was a funny feeling in my nose. And I realized that it brought my grandmother's house to mind, because I've often wondered about that, because she had high ceilings. And this would have been when I was a baby that I was there. And so when he talks, and maybe he doesn't talk until the fifth chapter, I'm not sure. I think he's talked kind of all along about a blank page. Make your mind a blank page. As you talk, Lori, you talk about your focus being on, your illness. And I think when we have things to deal with, that is where our focus is, especially when we don't want it. And so I think if we can learn tricks, like, the exercise of I am, or the exercise of how you create a blank page for yourself in your mind, you open up the opportunity to experience other thoughts than focusing on what you don't want. And I, for one, really need that. I've needed that in my life a lot, to not focus on what I don't want, to focus on just about anything else, but not what I don't want. I hope that's helpful to somebody.
Thanks, Karen. I understand what you're saying. I've done plenty of meditation and the I am thing, all of that. And it's not that I focus on my condition so much as it's staring me in the face whenever I try to do something like I normally, a healthy person would. I don't think it's about that. I appreciate the idea. Thanks.
Oh God, I have a lot to say on this subject, and I'm running on very little sleep and not enough coffee. So, humans have made up a lot of stories, and sometimes, we keep hearing, oh, you got to drop your story, when really they got to drop their story. It doesn't have anything to do with you. Like, and what I mean by that is, and this was really like in your face when I lived out in Boulder, but it still is, just like in an online way. Like there's people that, and this is why when somebody refers to me as a name or that I know more about something or something, I always shake my head, because I don't. And there's a lot of people, they get a little bit of, they have a thought for the first time, like they learn something about spirituality, and suddenly there's some kind of guru and shaman, and they have all the answers to everything. And if you can just raise your vibration, you're not going to catch COVID, and you're going to do this and that and all this other BS. And it pisses me off, you guys. And because everybody, as this chapter so eloquently states, everybody's already there. There's nowhere to get to. Nobody is more enlightened than anybody else. And maybe the story that needs to be dropped is that you can somehow be enlightened enough or have a high enough vibration to suddenly miraculously cure every illness on the face of the planet and fix everything in your body that supposedly we view as wrong and that shouldn't be there, when that's the fucking, oops, sorry, I was trying not to say that. That's the story that needs to be dropped in the first place. It's I see so like people think, oh, religion is so judging and blah, blah, blah. Well, the spiritual crew is as bad or worse, because at least the religious crew says, oh, well, you got some shit because you need to pray more or whatever. Well, or you did a sin or whatever. And, but the spiritual crew, I mean, they lay it right at your feet. This is completely all up to you. At least the religious crew, it's kind of up to God. But on the spiritual crew, like if you don't have your vibration right, you're just shit out of luck, and you can just forget it, and you ain't nothing. And it is so infuriating to see people judge, and I can say this because I have judged myself, to see people judge themselves thinking something's wrong with me. I'm not able to hold my vibration high enough, strong enough, long enough, to suddenly be in 100% perfect health and not have any disabilities and never have an unkind thought, or never have a sad moment because my vibration is 100% pure and blah, blah, blah. Guys, drop that story. Please drop that story.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to say there, Catherine. Well, I mean, I completely get it. It's like it's one extreme or the other. And I think no matter whether you're religious or spiritual or whatever you want to call it, when you start to act like you think you know everything, then that's when you really invest yourself.
Spiritual.
Well, yeah.
Well, not necessarily, but in a sense, when you become more judgy, you're not necessarily being spiritual because you're being judgmental of other people and yourself. So it's fair to say once you become, so judgmental or so arrogant about it, doesn't necessarily.
Yeah.
bring you
How are you
higher.
any different than?
Yeah, than anybody else.
Mhm.
So.
But a story came to my mind when you guys were talking, and kind of my thought process on this whole idea of having a new thought. And of course, we've talked about the book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, a lot. And a couple years back, we read the book Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer, that when we discussed the Tao Te Ching. And I feel like what they're trying to do in all of these different things is to help us just change the way we look at things. And, for example, Lori, you're talking about your condition and how no matter what you do, you can't make the condition go away. And like what Catherine was saying, I think these spiritualists that, have this idea that if you just meditate enough, or you're just higher enough, or you do whatever, you can just completely cure yourself of everything. But yet in one of the previous books that we read, the Your Soul's Plan, we talked about coming here and putting ourselves in certain positions for specific reasons. And so we create these life experiences so that we can grow in some way. And so what I was actually reminded of was the movie Forrest Gump. And it was Lieutenant Dan. He comes back from being at war, and he's been paralyzed, lost his leg, or not paralyzed, but he's lost his legs. And he gets stuck in his story about being this disabled person who can't do anything, who is downtrodden. He's depressed. He's just, his whole life is over. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. And he gets stuck in that loop of just saying all this because of his condition. The world sucks. I suck. Everything sucks. Blah, 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 blah. And it isn't until he is out on the boat and the hurricane's happening and he's up there and he's screaming at it and he's like, what, you can't do anything worse to me. It's the worst it can possibly be. And he has this new thought of, oh, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe my condition isn't the problem. It's how I'm thinking about my condition that is the problem. And then his life completely changes from that point. So it's this change of how he's looking at his life that creates a new opportunity, a new life experience for him. And I feel like we do this a lot to ourselves, like particularly in relationships with people, is that we get in this kind of rut, stuck with, say, well, years ago, my husband and I, we were struggling. And it was because of the way I was thinking about the relationship. I was thinking, oh, this sucks and this is that, and he's such an A, and da 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 da, and all these things. And I was stuck in this loop of all the unpleasant things that I thought that was horrible about our relationship. And it was causing our relationship to be crap. But then when I changed the way I was looking at it, i.e. changed my thought or had a new thought about the way our relationship was, then I started recognizing all of the things that I was appreciative about in the relationship, all the things I did like about him in the relationship, and that changed everything. And so, I feel like that's kind of what they're trying to convey here. I mean, obviously they're trying to convey a much bigger message on the idea, because chapter 5 talks about, looking at our existence is, instead of trying to ascend to a higher level of spirituality, is that we're expanding our thoughts and expanding ourselves so that we can have different experiences. So, but it can happen on a small level, it can happen on a big level. It's just how everything is a matter of perspective. I mean, everything is, no matter how we look at anything from any different perspective, we can see something completely different. I mean, if we, even as simple as just, walking from this side of the house to the other side of the house, and this side, I see, the living room. If I go over there, I see the dining room. It's just,
and everybody else's perspective is different from everybody else's as well, too. So you can't ever have the same exact perspective as somebody else. You can have multiple different perspectives as well as somebody else, and they're never going to be the same.
mm-hmm. And we can change our own too. Mm-hmm. So that's my.
I definitely understand all of that. I've, done the spiritual thing, the religious thing, the thing is that I really am not so down on myself or negative. I actually have a really good outlook on life, I think. And people tell me that. I understand that I have something to learn from all of this. And I'm sure, I hope to heck I've learned something all these years. I guess trying to write a different story basically is where I get stuck. I'm like, yeah, but I'm pretty tired of that. I appreciate all this. And I don't mean to dominate this conversation here. Reading into chapter 5 about expansion is quite another challenging prospect.
like to jump out real quick. Sounds to me, Lori, like you're an inspiration to those around you, and with a great attitude and everything. And when you mentioned there about expansion, what everyone else was saying was, I was sort of thinking refocusing, protecting your focus, reframing your story. Um, Karen mentioned about considering us as different in different positions of life, or even as inanimate objects, and where that takes us. And Catherine mentioned visualization and energies, and I think that's all good stuff. I think whatever it is that's necessary to put us in the right frame of mind and to help us refocus and to help us reframe. But I thought it was interesting because when you mentioned what the book said, just the word expansion, it's like, well, when we're reframing, refocusing, whatever we're using, whatever tools we're using to try to rewrite our story or be in the right frame of mind, we should be careful that we're not limiting ourselves even there, but also doing it in such a way where we're expanding ourselves. And it, like I said, it sounds like you're inspiring to others, and we should, when we're I think when we're refocusing and even protecting our focus from the outside forces that want to put our minds into a different focus, we should be aware that we can, when we reframe and refocus, that we can also expand our power, our ability to step into a power and possibly have a greater effect on not just our own lives, but how we are affecting others. Like Angela said, we don't all have the same perceptions. We don't all understand how it's being perceived by others, what we do and say and everything. But when thinking about it in the best light possible and most expansive thoughts we can, I think that might be helpful. So thank you.
Thanks, Jason. I agree. I know that I am here for a reason, and even though I might feel like I don't like what I'm doing here, and I wondered why I chose to come back here and chose this situation, it's just a bit overwhelming sometimes. I'll let somebody else talk here.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, life is a pain in the ass sometimes, and especially when we're struggling with something, and and sometimes we don't want to make the effort to change something in our lives to make things better. I mean, for instance, shoot, we would talk about weight loss all day long with so many people in the world trying to lose weight, and we think we want that, but yet at the same time the effort that it takes to make that happen seems so gargantuan sometimes. And and it's the same thing with everything. Anytime we want to change something, but yet there's also this kind of like idea of do we really, like, the whole, I don't know, the changing things in the first place. We think what we're supposed to be. We think we're supposed to be something other than we are. That seems like a theme of life in, I don't know, religious circles and spiritual circles and everything else. Is we've just got this idea in our head where we're supposed to be something other than what we actually are. And who was it was talking about the blank, kind of the blank space and kind of clearing out, or I can't remember who said something about that. And I think part of it is just trying to stay kind of like in the moment more, because if we're in the moment and we're just kind of experiencing what we're experiencing in this moment right here, and not thinking about what things should be, or thinking about what things could have been, or what I ought to be, or what we want it to be, or whatever, is that we can actually just kind of experience peace in the now, even in sucky situations. It's like sitting in a traffic jam and you're like, I just have to get to this place. There's a place I have to be, whether it's work or whether it's an event or whatever. And then we just get angry and we're upset because this roadblock is blocking us, literally. And yet at the same time, we can sit there and not think about where we have to be, and not think about the roadblock in front of us and all the crazies on the road and all of that, and experience peace in that moment. And I don't know, I feel like if we can try and focus there, or even not even try it, just to allow ourselves to focus there, and allow ourselves to just, okay, I don't have to think this bullshit that I'm telling myself all the time, because it just makes me feel crappy anyway. It's like Catherine talks a lot about Byron Katie and loving what is. And I think that's the same person. But I think that's part of it, is just kind of trying to just, I don't know, embrace what is, and quit writing all these stories about it, or telling ourselves all these stories about it. So,
Or it could be
Louder.
something like I've also noticed that we've also got kind of stuck into this, we have to have things now, right now. I need to go fast. I need to go now, like with my boyfriend, I always have to remind him, slow down, man. You're rushing yourself too much. And when you rush yourself, you get frustrated. And, when you do hit that traffic jam, you're like, I'm in such a rush. Why does this have to be here? And, and again, you get angry because you get in that mindset of like, but if you like slow down, like, okay, this is whatever, work is still there, or whatever is still there. We're not trying to rush. I don't know. I think it's like we also need to slow down too. That I've noticed we as, humans have also gotten into the rush, got to do it now kind of thing. So nobody likes being rushed. I mean, I get frustrated when I'm rushed. I know I get snippy and angry. So I think that's something as well too. We just kind of need to also slow down a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. If sometimes you try to relax and enjoy the peace, and then when you need to get something done, you're like, okay, I want to get it done and just take care of it, get it done. Then that's when you hit the roadblocks, and you're like, everything was going smooth, and now that I want to get this done, I'm hitting all these issues. So that can be frustrating. It's not that we're always rushing, but that when we do try to rush to get something done, that's when we have those issues. I wanted to touch on what Samantha was saying, and you guys were saying, and it brought up in regards to happiness, in regards to trying to achieve that happiness. Matthew Mcconaughey has a video out. I guess he did a speech where he was accepting an award, and he talked about happiness, and how we're that when we're trying to achieve that happiness, we make it difficult for ourselves because we're always raising the bar, and so we spend so much more time not being happy because we're never quite there. And he says, instead, try to experience joy. And so I was like, well, what's the difference between happiness and joy? And another person that I just happened to come across, they talked about joy, and we're saying joy is being able to is the experience of recognizing the divine contribution in the moment. So like, I guess it's sort of like similar to finding peace in the moment, but instead finding finding joy in the moment. So that it doesn't depend on what you are achieving, but in the just the being of it, and the experiencing of the being of it, and finding the joy within that, through the divine, any divine contribution that you can think of, I guess. So, but I thought it was interesting because we have these different words, that kind of mean the same thing, but then it may help us to differentiate between the two, so that we can um, uh, learn to have enjoyment and a type of happiness constantly, even though it's not the happiness we might experience from being exactly where we want to be, and doing exactly what we do, and achieving everything we've always wanted to achieve. Just wanted to add that in there.
This all brings to mind the book I read, The Power of Now. It's so important to stay present right now. This is what I have. And getting in a rush, always, that's when the accidents happen and things like that. To get you out of the space of now. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. I hear that's a good book too. The person who mentioned the thing about joy was his name's Mike Murdoch. You can look him up. But the other thing he said was about our focus, and we were mentioning that earlier. He mentions lots of great stuff, um, great kind of wisdom thoughts that can possibly help in situations. But he mentions about focus, and how and his thoughts were that the battle for our life, or the battle for our lives is in our mind, and depends on our focus, and where our focus is, and that our focus determines our feelings, and that and he makes different points about each one of those suggestions. But then also, one of the things he says is that we should guard our focus, because, and I agree with that, because we are surrounded by distractions constantly, and it can put us into loops. One little thing, like a notification from your phone, can throw you into a loop that you're now end up spending the next 30 minutes looking at Facebook or whatnot. So when you really wanted to do something else that was going to make that was going to make you happy, or that was going to get you to that closer to happiness, or that you could have experienced joy in, and now your focus was taken away. So we need, the point is, guard your focus, be aware of it, and do whatever you can to put yourself in the right frame of mind. He was talking about creating a playlist of songs. Don't just play a CD or a playlist that has only one song that puts you in the right frame of mind. Make one that's specific, that make a playlist that's all songs that put you in the right frame of mind and keep you there, kind of a thing. And to even protect your surroundings and your environment throughout the day, and basically keeping negativity away from you, and helping you to focus more on the right mindset so that you can enjoy life and do the things you want to do, I guess. So I think those are all good kind of rules of thumb to remember. There's just so many distractions out there. I mean, sight, sounds, smells, you right? You go for a bike ride and then you ride by a fast food restaurant and they're pumping smell out into the out into the block, and all you smell is like hamburgers or chicken or ribs, and I mean, it's funny. They want you to come in and eat. I get it, but we're trying to lose weight or whatever it might be. And then commercials, gosh, commercials. I want to turn on the TV for just a moment to listen to watch a show. The guide says there's a show on. Oh, this will be neat to watch. This event's on. You turn it on, and maybe it's just me, but it seems like I turn it on right when the commercials start. And so I get 5 minutes of commercials, and then it's like, okay, I gotta get back to work. And they're always telling you what to do. Do this. Stop what you're doing and do this. Worry about this and don't let this happen. Do this. Quick, hurry, do the. It's like, oh gosh. And it's like, did you know? It's like, yeah, I did know, because you told me that 15 minutes ago when I tried to tune in earlier. It's the same darn commercial. What do you like? But so I have to laugh at it, because otherwise, it's just frustrating. Everything's battling for your attention, and so we have to guard ourselves, and do it in a good way, but then still expand, still expand our possibilities, right? So
oh my gosh, this life is so difficult. That's a good reason not to watch television. It's all commercials.
I know, we pay for that too, right? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to change how you think about things when everything in the world is trying to tell you that everything about you is bad. It's hard to embrace the now and embrace what you are when everything on TV is telling you all the reasons why you're broken, and these are all the things that you should be doing. And that's just on television. I mean, we think about all our friends and family and all of social media and everything out there, all of society. It's like everything you're doing is wrong. You need to do it a different way. And how it's so hard to it's hard to sit here and go against that, right? This idea that no, I'm just fine how I am. I don't have to be more or better or thinner or taller or whatever, or I mean, we can just be how we are and embrace that, but yet people sit there and then tell you, oh, well, you're just a cop out, you're not trying to improve yourself, you're not trying to be better, you're not trying to we're told that everything that we do is wrong.
It's just a lose-lose situation.
It feels like it. Yeah. It feels like everything is just against us.
No matter what I do.
Oh man. But it kind of reminds me though, we say that we came down here to have this experience, or we're kind of exploring the idea that we came here on purpose to do this. And it's interesting. It reminds me of when we get on and when we play a video game. Not that I do that very often, because I've never really been into video games, but the few times that I've gotten them, I'm just like in there. I'm like, I'm not trying to play the game the way it's supposed to be. I just kind of randomly play it and see what I can do, and and I'm like, why I can go against those games and just do whatever the heck I feel like to see what happens. But yet, for whatever reason, this whole game of life, you kind of get stuck in this idea of, you're supposed to do all these specific things, or try and improve yourself, or try and, ascend, or, whatever it is that we're trying to do. And And yet I feel like when I'm the happiest, it's when I'm not trying to do anything. It's when I'm not trying to, you know, tell myself whatever is wrong. It's just when
Trying
I'm
to change
embracing.
any aspect of yourself.
Yeah. Just kind of just be, you know, but that's wrong. You know, we're not supposed to do that because that's a, you know, that's a cop out. You're not even trying. You're just blobbing through life or whatever, you know, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to have to be constantly improving, right? You know, maybe I just want to embrace whatever is going on right now. Why isn't that okay? You know,
I'm
so
fine just how I am, damn it.
exactly. I don't know, but at the same time, here we are, always reading self-development books, trying to learn more things. You know, because we're compelled, I think, as humans, that we have to expand in some way. You know, even when we're you know, at peace, we still have to do. You know, there's always something that we want to be doing or reading or something. There's got to be some kind of an activity happening.
Well, expanding is different than changing. You know, learning about something new is kind of different than, you know, trying to change something about yourself or thinking that you need to change something about yourself. So I mean, there is kind of a difference. You know, and I like, you know, expanding a lot more than trying to ascend, you know, like change yourself or try to better yourself, you know, make yourself better. You know, expanding is, you know, you're broadening your spectrum. You're getting more of an open mind about things instead of being narrow-minded, like I have to fit in this lane no matter what, you know. But it's like, why can't I just take all the lanes? You know, but I mean, you know, it's like I want to learn about them all. Why do I have to just learn about this one or stay on this one? You know, all of them seem interesting, you know. So I like the fact that, you know, thinking of it as expanding versus ascending, because then that just seems like you have to follow these specific set of rules in order to ascend. Like you have to meet these standards or these requirements in order for you to ascend to that next level.
Right. Well, and like as if, you know, the ascension kind of creates this idea that as you are right now is not good enough, and then you have to get to a higher level in order to be good enough. But there's no end to that.
Yeah, because it could just be forever going on, you know, because somebody could be like, oh, I did this. I'm a higher vibration. I'm a higher level. I do this better than you because you don't do it this way. You know, it's like, well, just because I don't do it that way doesn't mean I still didn't get the same end result, you know. Whereas I like to learn how to do it a different way, maybe.
I like that idea of expansion.
I like coming on here because you know, it helps to form new ideas and to create new connections in my mind um, to the thoughts that I have when I'm you know, working on things outside of it, and so creating those connections is a big part for me. It's not really, you know, I don't look at it as kind of trying to be someone I'm not, but I do, or you know, I don't really, I don't feel like we can completely leave ourselves behind, but we can definitely learn to. I think we can reframe things and learn to um, look at things a different way and make different connections and have different thought patterns about it, and better understandings that can help us to um, you know, use our experiences uh, and uh, and be as effective in our lives and in the lives of others, depending on what you want to do. So I really appreciate coming here and hearing what you all have to say in regards to, you know, what we're talking about, because it does help to create those new connections and and um, instead of just bringing up these great thoughts and ideas in my own head, gives a chance to have a sounding board and hear some feedback. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's a little bit of feedback for you, Jason. I really, really appreciate that you explored the difference between happiness and joy And I don't know that I got it quite correctly in my mind that you discovered one thing about joy is that it's recognizing the divine. And I kind of tripped off on that because I have been thinking about a scripture that I had never been taught. I don't remember this particular scripture, which I think in my mind is like one of the most important that there could be. I don't remember being taught this, but it is, after the Savior was resurrected and he's meeting his disciples on the road, somebody says something to him and he says, no, one of his disciples says, do ye not know that Jesus Christ is in you? And the reason your definition of joy brought that to my mind is because I've been watching on Acorn TV on my computer, British TV shows, which, by the way, don't have any ads, which is so marvelous because you're not sitting there and feeling like most of your time is taken up with ads. You're totally enjoying this experience. And I've been watching something called Balthazar. The man's name is Raphael Balthazar. And he's a forensic scientist whose wife was slain 12 years ago. And he just can't let her go. And you eventually realize that she's there and she kind of fades in and out, she can't be there when he's got anybody else that's alive around, but he dances with her. And then there's an episode where he's dying, and there have been people who have challenged him that you don't really want to live, you want to die. That's why you skydive, that's why you do all these different things that you do. And he is dying, and she comes and gives him a hug, and he's talking about this near-death experience and seeing the light and all that kind of stuff. And she comes and gives him a hug, and she says, you think we're going to be able to go off into forever, being together and all this kind of stuff. She said, that's not how it's going to be. I'm in your mind. And I thought, oh my gosh, because I now read chapter 5 twice, and I'm trying to understand how we create our lives and the people around us and everything that we have and are. And I also went back and read the introduction to the book, and Jarrad Hewett talks about thanking everyone. He names all these people and he says, thanks for creating with me. And so with what you said, Jason, I was thinking that one thing I can focus on, I realize I'm in a different situation, where I can do I can do a little bit more with my life than most of you can, because most of you still are trying to work and so on. But why did I say that? I don't remember why I said that. Well, I can focus on some different things. And one of the things that I want to focus on, Jason, is I want to focus on in my life when I recognize the divine is touching my life. Like when I see these little bunnies hop around and these little quail run across the road and all that kind of stuff. And I want to remember that Jesus Christ is in me. And I don't have a problem thinking that somehow it's not something that seems strange and odd and unusual. And, I don't know how it is that I think that could possibly be, and you and everybody else. Anyway, thank you, Jason, very much. Thank you all. I love this too, to have a sounding board, to have an opportunity to hear some feedback. Thank you so much. I love you all.
Love you so much, Karen. I'm so glad that you're on here. Oh, Lori, I see you unmuted. Jump out. Sorry.
That was just one of my twitches, but I will say that I appreciate you all, and I wanted to comment saying that the best thing maybe not the best thing, but that came to mind then is that we are human beings, not human doings. And I appreciate all this. I know we're past the hour. See you next week.
Yeah, we are kind of past the top of the hour. Did anybody want to kind of make a final thought before we wrap up for today?
I just really like what Lori said there. We're human beings, not human doings. I like that. That's nice.
We could just be.
Yeah, I like that.
Any final thoughts, Catherine?
No, not really, other than, the only story that we need to drop is that anything is supposed to be different than what it is.
Yeah, and I like this kind of thought of, the difference between ascension and expansion being, ascension is this thought that, we aren't good enough and that we have to be better. And expansion is more of a thought of we're just fine how we are, but it's cool to learn new things and it's cool to experience new things. And that's kind of part of what just this whole life could possibly be about, is just experiencing, and that we're good how we are, but it's fun to do new stuff and
Learn different perspectives and learn open-mindedness and acceptance. Because the more that you learn and the more that you find out about different things, different cultures and different religions, the more understanding that you get for the reasons why people do the things that they do. So you kind of get more open-minded as well too, because you understand that perspective, you understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. So it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. They're not just doing it just because, it's just how they are. That's just what they decide to follow, or something like that. I that's what I like about expanding. It's like I learn new things, I learn about different things, I learn, the reasons why people are the way they are, the way that they do things, and it just gives me more of a open perspective and an open mind about a lot of things too.
awesome, guys. This has been.
I just want to say real quick, I miss everybody that wasn't able to attend today. I know, you wanted to be on here, Dan and everyone that couldn't make it on here. Hop on out when you can, and it'd be great to hear from you. All of our new members as well. Welcome, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Yes, exactly. And for those of you who are watching this live stream on Facebook, we'd love to have you jump on here, just, so we can hear your thoughts and opinions, and because we all learn and grow and expand when we can hear another perspective, and we get kind of like that light bulb moment of, oh yeah. And that's what we're all here for, is just to have that experience and learn new things. And so that's really awesome. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, there'll be some links below this video that you can jump into our Facebook group and participate with us, or watch us on the live stream, whichever you like. And of course, if you like this video, click like wherever you are and you're watching it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get updated each time we upload a new video. So with that, guys, have a great, awesome, amazing week, and we'll see you next time on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now.